Wow, we've got a lot to talk about. Dang, I feel like so much has happened in the last 24 hours that's absolutely freaking sparked controversy and conversation and opinions on Twitter and YouTube and Reddit and the like from retail, and I would say rightfully so. We're going to dive into that today as we discuss Aron's tweet discussing synthetic shares, and number two, the annual shareholder meeting that took place today that had 3 different count votes that we're going to discuss alongside some other Q&A things that I found to be of interest. So guys, welcome to Trey's where we can talk fast and don't skip classic. I'm not a financial advisor expert, so please don't say the grain of salt. Let's get right into it. Save you guys as much time as possible. Here are the 8 touch points that I'd like to discuss. Number 1, synthetic shares. Number 2, shout out to Corey and Boss Blunts. Number 3, dilution. Number 4, dilution jab. Number 5, pounds no earlier than Q2. Number 6, no exec bump. Number 7, board remains consistent. And then number 8, which is ownership, and it kind of ties back to question 1, which people find to be of pretty decent interest. So let's start off here with point 1, synthetic shares. Yesterday, Aron came out on Twitter and he tweeted out this beast of a monstrosity that sparked a lot of conversation. It reads as such: inbound tweets ask over and over for a share count. AMC has done a share count 6 times in the past year. We know of 516.8 million shares that exist. Some of you believe that the count is much higher. As I've said before, we've seen no reliable info on so-called synthetic or fake shares. To which I replied, Adam, can the company release the 6 share count findings and methodologies open source for investors to read over? Many would be interested in the process to the conclusion. And the reason that I stated this is quite simple. There are 2 sort of primary ways that you can look at this statement. Number 1, there are no synthetic shares. This is an option. This is what Aron stated, is that he has found no synthetic shares. This is option number 1 that you can conclude, right? Number 2 is they found no synthetic shares, which would be a problem with methodology. And the vocabulary here is very important to see. There are none is definitive. They found none does not disprove that they exist. So I would actually be very intrigued and interested, and I would implore Aron to release his methodology as to how he found that there were no synthetic shares. And I want to state this very clearly. When I saw that tweet come out, I was so frustrated. To be quite frank, I don't even know what to think. I read that and I thought out loud. I think I said it out loud. I said, this just pisses me off because it feels like they're problem finding and not problem solving. What did that solve? What problem did that solve? You know, none really. And to my knowledge and the math that many people have done, things don't seem to add up, and him stating this does not really clarify that. I want to see math. I want to see reasoning. I want to see where you came to that conclusion, because as you go through this video, you're going to come to the same sort of thought process that I have probably, and that is that math doesn't seem to make sense here. So with that being said, I'm not going to stay on that much longer. I share your frustration. I think that tweet was, to be frank with you, pretty silly. I'm saying that in a nice way. I think it's dumb. It served no purpose other than to find a problem and not find a solution to the problem. So there's that. Number 2, shout out to Corey and Boss Blunts. This is probably my favorite part of the entire call that took place. We streamed it on my channel here earlier today. Corey gave a shout out to Boss Blunts as a YouTuber and a guy on Twitter for inspiring him to do some really deep research. And what he did is he put together a whole bunch of data. And I swear to God, this guy rehearsed it. So he was square on the nose with just 2 minutes allowed for the question. But he went on and he gave examples as to how GameStop looked like the price was suppressed, according to failure to delivers and according to ownership and according to average volume and a whole bunch of different metrics. He threw this together and presented it to Aron in a very eloquent way, a more eloquent way than I could have done myself and probably many others. And I want to give him recognition. So Corey, if you're watching this video, bro, you're a fucking homie, all right? You deserve some, I would say head, but you deserve some goddamn skull. All right? I hope that you get some, have a good night tonight. Number 3, dilution. A lot of people have been concerned about dilution, and I think what spurred this was Rico's opinion of the possibility of a dilution coming in 2022 because of the tweet that Aron had released. I'm a fan of Rico. I like Rico. He's a friend of mine. But I shared, I should say, a different perspective. I found it to be unlikely. The reason I find it to be unlikely is because if AMC did not dilute stock at $30, $20, $40, I don't know why the fuck they would do it at 11. That makes no sense to me. And if they did, I would have had a very big problem. That would have pissed me off. That would have pissed a lot of people off. And I think that AMC did the right thing, right? It makes no sense to dilute stock when it's undervalued. So they didn't, and they will not dilute it for 2022. This is a statement that Aron had made. Which brings me to this, and it was frustrating. This felt like a jab, almost like blame shifting to retail, which I wasn't a fan of, and I want to make that apparent. And it's okay to not be a fan of things people say, right? It's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to think that somebody is doing their job, and that sometimes they do their job right, and sometimes they're fucking up on stuff. And I think that Aron fucked up on this. What he stated was that if you look back on stock price, you'll see that every time that diluted stock, the stock price went up. And this is actually factual. It did, right? So what you'll see is if this is dilution day, typically you get an initial dip followed by a big rip that surpasses the initial dip and then a slow fade down like so, right? This has happened every time they've diluted, and this would actually be true. However, the problem comes back to this. Every time you dilute, you face the same problem, which is an eventual fade down to what is the fair valuation, according to certain market conditions, current market conditions. In a bear market, obviously, valuation will dip lower. And this chart has played out over and over and over. I'm sure you recognize this pattern on AMC many, many times, every single time they've diluted. So, true. While if AMC diluted, I am certain you would see the same pattern take place again. A dip followed by a rip bigger than the dip. You would still face this problem, and Aron is left stuck in a shoe, right? This shoe, the fade, the slow fade, the slow bleed where AMC drops down and drops down and drops down. To me, the problem is not dilution. There's two problems at hand. One, fundamentals need to continue to improve. That comes onto the company. Now, they are improving, and I hold them to that regard. Fundamentals have been improving, and I think that we're going to continue to see quarter over quarter over quarter continue to improve. And I think there will come a day where they're cash flow positive and can start really knocking away at their debt, right? That's on the company. Number two is market mechanics. This is an area that I think Aron could do a bit more, as I think others do. His primary concern needs to be fundamentals, and that's why I have it marked as number one. His job is to run the company, and I want to make that painfully clear. I've seen opinions stated that fuck fundamentals, I'm here for a squeeze. Well, if you've been here for more than a day or a week, fundamentals matter, right? Fundamentals are the reason that we've bled as low as we have. It just is, burning cash quarter over quarter is a part of the fundamental problem. You've got to see them grow. They have a decent sized debt sheet that has to improve. Fundamentals do matter, and as fundamentals continue to improve, you won't have a need for dilution. In fact, I would like to see a share buyback. That is what would really get my dick hard, is a share buyback. I want them to get to a fundamental shoe where they can buy back shares, because guess what would happen? The same fucking thing. You'd see price go way the fuck up if they started buying back shares. It just would. It just would. That is seen as a great sign of strength as compared to dilution being sort of a sign of weakness. I don't think we need dilution. I don't think they need dilution. I think they have a large war chest. They need to utilize that war chest. And I think jabbing at retail, saying if we had diluted stock in 2022, maybe it wouldn't have slid. It wasn't the exact wording, but it was since July when we stopped diluting, stock prices only gone down. You can sort of draw a conclusion from that. What do you mean? Well, there you have it. Not a fan of this. This is probably my least favorite part of the entire thing. Pounce no earlier than Q2, 0.5. What I find to be the most interesting here is I think the psychology behind it is fascinating. I think that he stated he's not going to pounce any earlier than Q2. What he's referencing to here is making a move on short sellers and making a move on market mechanics. I think the reason behind that is he expects Q2 to be something quite spectacular. And he wants the company to be in a fundamental shoe that is drastically better than it is now. And once he sees that there is less weakness in the company from a fundamental perspective, that he will take advantage of that pounce. Now, he also made it very clear that there are no times that he plans on. He's not trying to get it done by X date. He's waiting on an opportunity. And if I had to guess, I think that opportunity is strength in the company. So I would obviously urge, Aron and the team and execs, everybody at the top, to continue to try to strengthen the company and to be very concrete and clear in what they plan to do so that people can track that. I think once you get this box checked, which is a job, I would say priority number one of the CEO, quite obviously, you may get this pounce piece, which is why I think he mentioned no earlier than Q2. Number 6, executives aren't getting a pay bump. I think this is important, especially during a recession, because in a recession, people are struggling. If you're struggling, nobody wants to see people getting a pay bump, especially when they're not getting paid very well in comparison to a recession or a poor economic downturn. Number 2, I think that executive pay bumps or bonuses are warranted. You can hate me for this if you'd like. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree, whatever. It's up to you. They are warranted if stock price is going up. You reward people for good behavior. Hey, the executive team is leading into a fantastic return. Take a bonus. I don't care. You did great. You made me money. Fantastic. But that's sort of the nature of the beast in the stock market is you're rewarded for price going up, right? You make money when price goes up. We make money. Execs make money. It's a good world. It makes sense. 7, board remains consistent. Everybody that was on the board will stay on the board. Number 8, this comes back to number 1, and this is how I'll wrap up the video. Ownership is 80% including ETFs and 90% excluding ETFs. Now, when I was live, there was a lot of confusion about this, myself included. Ownership for retail comes out to 80% of the overall float when you include ETFs and 90% when you exclude them, meaning that ETFs comprise some of retail ownership. To me, this is drastically clashing with evidence to point towards shares that should not be in the market. Why? Institutional ownership is somewhere in the realm of 33 to 36%. Shares on loan in the realm of 30+%, right? And some of those are likely institutional, but obviously that is a greater number than 100%. So what makes sense here? Well, number 1, retail is share lending up the wazoo. And what I mean by that is, in order to see those sort of metrics, retail would have to be lending out shares, their own shares, to institutions to own over 100%. In which case, you still have shares that are rehypothecated. Rehypothecated, in case you do not know, means you can have 2 of one thing if they are borrowed more than one time or bought more than one time. So if Barbara over here owns a share and she's got share lending turned on and an institution wants that share can go over here, and that same share is basically used twice. Here's one share, here's one share. Rehypothecated, which still would point towards the fact that there is greater than 100% of the float in existence. Number 2, if this isn't the case, is the math just doesn't fucking add up, and this is probably the worst scenario. Maybe it's a combination of both. I don't know. It could be. But nonetheless, if 80% of the stock is owned by retail, the only explanation that would make 100% make sense is if the data made available to us was that far off, in which case you still face a problem. If you have a problem in lagging data so bad that a stock is representing 120%, 130% of the float being out there on the market, but it's not, you're fucking up. That's a data problem that needs to be addressed, because that is going to raise concerns. And no fucking wonder people are going to say, hey, look, this is over 100%. This looks like a fucking problem, because it is. No matter what way you cut it, the data problem, the real problem, both are fucking problems, and they need to be addressed. And I see no world where the math doesn't add up. I mean, it just doesn't. It doesn't. You come over here to AMC institutional ownership, which I've shown before, I'll show again. This plus simply 80%, if you take the low ball of things, 36 plus 80 does not equal 100. Something doesn't make sense. You know, it's either this or it's both. But nonetheless, I come back to number 1 and I digress. They have to show their methodology here. Show me the breakdown. Show me how much institutions own. Show me how much retail owns. Show me how you came to that conclusion. And then maybe we can have the discussion. But at this point, the core problem lies on one of 2 things. Either A, data is fucked and needs to be addressed urgently, or number 2, shares are on the market that should not exist. That's it. That's what I got. That's what I got for the video. That's what I got from the meeting. That's what I got for Adam Aron's tweet. And I'll leave you guys with that. Appreciate you for tuning in. Catch you on the next one. Much love, like taps as always. Peace.